Noah, why are you so happy?
You know what, Brady? It's episode number 7 of Off the Dome. Let's go. But more importantly, we do not have to talk about Syracuse football today. Happy championship weekend, everybody. We're locked and loaded. We're ready to go.
It's been a rough season for the Qs, but the good thing about it is that all good things and bad things must come to an end.
Yes.
They just came to an end.
This weekend, no more Syracuse football. We don't have to talk about them. We don't have to watch them. We do have some news on them, which will come later. But, Brady, let's hear who we got on the pod this weekend.
First up, we got from Massachusetts, we got Andrew Youngworth.
Yeah! Fellow Massachusetts native.
Horns down.
Here we go.
This is the Bashan Robinson, Texas jersey.
Fellow Massachusetts guy. Second off, a hometown hero from the Bronx. He lives in New York, so New York fans, there you go. Brandon Brito.
Let's go. All right, gents, let's get into it.
Let's get to the desk. Let's start talking ball.
Let's do it.
All right.
Here we go.
So, we got a little bit of a new setup this week. I'm sure you guys can see. It's episode 7, even though we've only uploaded 2 episodes. Had a lot of technical difficulties so far. That's besides the point. Brady, last weekend was rivalry weekend. You were at that Auburn, Alabama game. What did you see? How was that experience?
Well, first off, I just want to go and address the viewers. Y'all may or may not have seen a reel pop up of me with Snapback Sports. And Snapback, if you're out there, we would love to have you as a guest on the pod.
Not rolling out any guests on this podcast. Snapback, we'd love to have
We'd love to have you. It's great to meet y'all and do the interview. I'm just asking, why was I in the main vid? But it's great to be put into the reel and the short. But overall, getting into the rivalry week, we got some action, a lot of action on Friday. Yeah. We saw the Texas Longhorns take down A&M. Arch Manning with a clutch touchdown late in the game. Then we got that Georgia Tech game that came down to the wire.
That game was honestly a snooze fest. 16-9 final score, very low scoring. Saw some good defense from Georgia there. But one of the craziest things that's happened since our last podcast, obviously those rivalry games were awesome, but Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss, a playoff team, but Lane Kiffin is out as head coach. He walks away to sign with LSU. So many fans are stunned. I mean, obviously there's the money aspect of it. But, Brady, what do you think about that decision?
I mean, at the end of the day, he took a better job. What can you really be mad at him for that? I mean, you could say that all the stuff, I wasn't a huge fan of what he said about if you're not on the plane to Baton Rouge, you can't. I don't know how much that was true because LSU offensive coordinator is scheduled to coach in the playoffs.
Right.
But just, you can't really be mad at. I understand why you're frustrated as a Rebels fan because, you had your best season. Some may say your best season ever, and then your coach leaves. But ultimately, LSU's a much better job than Ole Miss, and he has so many more resources.
I think it's a fair argument to bring up, but also, why even coach if you're going to abandon your team before the end of the season? You go into the year wanting to contend for a national championship, wanting to not only build a culture but see it through. He's leaving now to go to LSU for what? Okay, he gets paid a little bit more. He's already getting paid millions of dollars. It's the difference between what? $10 million and $20 million.
I will say, though, this is not the first time he has done this. He has broken multiple teams' hearts before, so who's to say we didn't see it coming?
Yeah, we didn't. Maybe we saw it coming, but I still think it's the wrong move. I think you go to Ole Miss and you take over that head coaching position with intent to see it through. Maybe that's not what he was doing, but I feel like that's a practice that all coaches
the ultimate goal of any coach is to win a national title. Any program, any team, any player, the goal should be, maybe not for players to make it to the league, but the ultimate goal should always be to win a national championship. And to be honest, I just don't know if he can do that at Ole Miss. I think LSU is just a much better place for possibilities of winning a national title.
Fair enough, and we'll see how Ole Miss fares in the college football playoffs. But speaking of disloyalty, we saw plenty of that on National Signing Day. One of the biggest decisions, 5-star quarterback Jared Curtis flipping his commitment to Vanderbilt. He's following in Diego Pavia's footsteps, and wow, you gotta admire the impact that Pavia has had on this Vanderbilt program as a whole. If you told me a year ago that they would land a 5-star prospect like Curtis, I would look at you and laugh. And then Calvin Russell, I mean, we saw a little bit of indecision from him, which was definitely a little worrisome. But Brady, what do you have to say about that?
Did y'all see the stuff about where Jared Curtis allegedly it got leaked before? Did you see that?
I
He
did.
told a
Yeah,
graphics
yeah.
producer
He
about
did.
it. Yeah.
Ultimately he ended up deciding to go to Vandy. I don't really know how much that was the media's fault because they knew, and it was
Right.
true. So he ultimately told them, and it came out later that day that he went to Vanderbilt. But it's just going to be interesting. Vanderbilt at Georgia next year is going to be interesting, especially with looking like Gunnar Stockton is going to stay, which is probably why he's going to Vanderbilt because he'll be able to start next year because that 29-year-old Diego Pavia won't be able to have any more years of eligibility.
You've got to feel for the Georgia Bulldogs fan. A couple of years ago, they got that Dylan Raiola poem where he decommitted from Georgia. Now they've got this Jared Curtis flipping from Georgia to Vanderbilt. And I think that it getting leaked to the media was honestly karma. I think that if you're going to be that disloyal to flip on signing day, not even beforehand, flip your commitment on the day of, you deserve to have something ruined in that process for you. But let's talk about Syracuse for a second here. I know we were so happy that we don't have to talk about them, but this is good news. And Brandon, I'm sure you're happy about this. 5-star receiver Calvin Russell, 6'6", 190, just an absolutely beast of a player. Number 4 receiver in the recruiting class. And he was initially on National Signing Day saying, I don't know if I'm ready. He threw up the U, which made a lot of fans nervous. But man, finally he signs. He joins the franchise. What do you think about that, Brandon?
Yeah, I know before he signed with Syracuse, he was absolutely bashing them.
Yeah.
And then the same thing what you said with the U. Definitely bizarre that he would decide to commit to Syracuse right after everything he's been saying.
I don't understand the decision at all. I think if you're going to commit to a place, just commit to them. And Miami, I think, was out of the game at the time that he made that hand gesture. They had already been going after him. he said no.
That's what confused me. Is I actually heard Miami stopped pursuing him when he did the U. It was really between Syracuse and Michigan were really the final 2 options. Miami was never really in contention for that.
We've seen it. We saw it a ton last year with Julian Lewis. Just a lot of trolling going on. Part of that could be due to the guy we talked about earlier, Lane Kiffin, who up to stir things up. But I'm all for trolling. I think it's entertaining. But I'm sure glad that I'm not a Michigan or Miami fan, thinking I was about to get Calvin Russell, and then he just goes to your conference rival.
Yeah, Miami's been definitely screwed over a little bit in the last couple of weeks, especially with them being left out of the college football playoffs. We saw Notre Dame being favored over them, despite the head-to-head result, which I thought was a little bit interesting. Obviously, Notre Dame's been hot since then. But let's stay with Syracuse here, getting a little bit more towards the basketball season. As we know, as football season winds down, we got to start thinking about that Syracuse basketball team. And man, oh man, they had a great win against Tennessee, the number 13th ranked team in the nation. And they rushed the court. Brady, talk about the game and if you think that rushing the court is justifiable.
With the state of Syracuse basketball in the past years, this was a monumental win to get them back into the old days. For that reason, I think it was a justifiable court storm. As you mentioned to me, because we were sitting next to each other during the game, it was the first upset of a ranked team on the season by a non-ranked team.
Yeah, something like that, or one of the first.
It was a great win to start the season, and if Syracuse, they had some great performances in the Players Era tournament, fell short due to some William Kyle free throw shooting, who was actually the hero by drilling a free throw.
Poetic.
But
poetic justice, as they say.
Me and you were not able to rush the court due to security, but we have somebody here that was able to rush the court.
I was able to rush the court.
Could you tell us a little bit about your experience?
I got tackled by 30 people trying to rush the court at first. It was like a domino effect. Like 40 people fell, and then cops were entering the pile, picking people up and sending them away. But I was able to sneak by, get on the court. I dapped up Sadiq White, and it was just a celebration from there. It was unbelievable.
Do you regret it one bit?
I don't regret it one bit. And to your question, I think it was more than justifiable. Syracuse, despite we love college football. Our lacrosse team is successful. Syracuse is a basketball school, 100%. If you're outside of Onondaga County and you hear the name Syracuse, you think of Syracuse basketball and the aura, the representation Syracuse basketball used to have.
Yeah.
was they were expected to win these games, or they were the team to beat.
Right.
Syracuse to get a win like that, to get a quad one win, the first one since January 2024, it was huge for the fans. It was huge for the coach, huge for the players. You got to celebrate it to let the team know that you still support them. The fans have your back.
Spread the word. Cuse is back.
It's exactly right. I mean, people that are hating on the internet, hating on the Syracuse fans for rushing the court, get a job, honestly, or get a life. Get something. I mean,
or just
for all the people out there that are bashing Syracuse for storming the field, get a job.
Seriously. I mean, how sad do you have to be to look at an unranked program who's had little success in the last year? I mean, the Eddie Lampkin era was probably justifiable in itself for a court storm. That was a terrible year last year.
But Big Fellas was a phenomenal restaurant.
It was. But to take a program like Syracuse, obviously they've had history. So many programs that are not doing well now have had history. That doesn't take away from the fact that they're not in a good spot. And this win could single-handedly launch them back into relevance and make them a contender again, or just a team to watch.
Absolutely.
Let the students have fun.
This is the most skilled team in Autry's tenure, and the most skilled teams, actually, in my opinion, since the 2021 March Madness run when we went to the Sweet 16. We have a 5-star in Donnie Freeman who has been injured. By the way, we won that game without our best player, and we lost to Houston by 3 points without our best player.
In overtime, too. So it was 0-0.
Not only was the Tennessee win amazing, I think the loss against Houston was the best that our team has played so far this season.
Totally agreed. And that was a high-octane matchup between two very capable squads. This Saturday, we're going to see a lot more of that all around the college basketball world. We've got some stacked matchups. Top 10 matchups galore, MSU, Duke, ISU, Purdue, and then we've got top 15 matchups, Illinois versus Tennessee, who, their momentum's been slowed by that Syracuse loss, but we'll see how they fare. And then at nighttime, freshman phenom Koa Pete, you've got a great team in Arizona. They're taking on Auburn, who I know you're going to be rooting against, Brady.
Well,
but a lot to look forward to for this Saturday.
I'm excited because Arizona, Zona Squad, and Koa Pete will be going to Birmingham next Saturday to face off against Alabama. We'll see. Flew back on Friday. Might be going to the game. Not
we might
exactly
be getting
sure.
live Brady Taylor coverage from Birmingham.
From Legacy Arena.
I personally cannot wait for Michigan State, Duke. I am the biggest college basketball fan out there. And for those of you who need a game to watch this weekend, Michigan State Duke is going to be the game of the year thus far. I have no doubts in my mind about it.
That's a great take. I mean, MSU, they've been off to a crazy hot start.
Oh, my goodness.
They've jumped up in the rankings tremendously. Duke, we know how much talent they have. The Boozer twins, Mr. Slim, Isaiah Evans, they have all the talent in the world. Honestly, if I have to pick somebody who I think is going to win, though, give me MSU. I think they have more heart, and I think that they're a team that's going to win this game and get a crazy amount of momentum going into the rest of the season.
I agree with you. I think Michigan State, now this is now the second year in a row where Michigan State is the most underrated basketball team in the entire country.
It's true.
When will the Tom Izzo disrespect stop? Tom Izzo is, in my opinion, either number 1 or number 2 among current head coaches. Bill Self is the only argument you could put there, but Tom Izzo's squads every year are instant contenders.
And he's revitalized Michigan State. There's no argument about that.
Every year, it feels like his squads are just criminally underrated.
I don't know what it is. I don't understand it.
There's squads that I see every year highly ranked, and I'm like, no way these squads are better than Michigan State. It feels like all they have to do is make March Madness, and they're more than capable, whatever seed they are, from a 3 seed all the way to a 8 or 9 seed. It feels like they could make a run in a year.
And their in-state rivals over in Ann Arbor, Michigan, look like the best team in the world right now. And that leads me to my take. I think the Big Ten champion is in the state of Michigan. I do not think it is the Boilermakers.
That's a crazy take. I mean,
that's a big one.
The Boilermakers have showed this year that they're a legit team. I mean, they beat Alabama earlier. It was a close game, granted, but
on the road too.
Braden Smith is the real deal. Even though he's 40 years old and probably should be in the NBA or overseas right now.
Basketball Stetson Bennett.
Technically still in college, and he's dominating. Shout out Joe Dez. He's a commentator for MSU, and I worked with him a couple summers ago. So if you want to get on the pod, you're always welcome. But I think we should get into these football games. That's why you're here. That's why we're here. So first game going down tonight. We're filming this before it started, so we don't have any intel, we promise you. the American Championship, big Group of 5 game. UNT, who have an 11-1 record, top 25 team, versus Tulane, 10-2, worst record, but better seed. They're the number 20 seed. Brady, let's start with you.
Overall, both of these squads, I mean, I've been tracking the American this year. It's been a crazy carousel. We thought it was going to be South Florida. Then we thought it was going to be Memphis. Then we thought it was going to be North Texas. And then Tulane, repeat. It's been like that the whole season, just back and forth. These teams beating each other up. North Texas's one loss is to South Florida, who they got beat pretty handily by on the road.
It was a high-scoring game.
Tulane, and then I know, obviously, I'm sure y'all saw John Summerall took the Florida job, but he will be able to coach. Overall, Tulane's been very talented these past years with Summerall, and then I just think that they're going to be able to get it done, despite, Drew Mestemaker. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He's finalist for the Manning Award, the only Group of 5 one, and he's doing all this as a freshman. For that reason, give me the green wave.
Ooh,
Tulane.
Taking Tulane. Okay.
I mean,
Andrew, what are you thinking?
We want to talk about skilled freshmen. How about we talk about Caleb Hawkins,
Yeah.
the University of North Texas
100%.
running back? I mean, we could talk about the fact that he has 23 touchdowns, but I think it's worth noting that he has 16 touchdowns in his last 4 games.
Right.
There is no hotter player in the country right now than Caleb Hawkins. For that reason, I'm going to go with North Texas.
Yeah, and Brandon, you can go next, but I definitely agree with what Andrew said. Yeah.
I agree with everything Andrew just said. I would say Hawkins could definitely get his touchdowns, and I feel like it's going to be a high-scoring game. Give me UNT in this one.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm with you, Brandon. I think that this game, it gives the vibe off of just a barn burner. I think that defense goes out of the window in this game. But what I've seen from UNT and Tulane in the last couple games, Tulane, their last game of the season, they were playing a 1-10 Charlotte team who's had no success this year. They blew them out, but they had some costly turnovers, which are not typical of a team who's in the top 25, especially if they're playing a team like Charlotte. I think teams with big turnover issues always get exposed in big games. UNT, while they took that tough loss to USF had all the momentum in the world during that game. They had beaten some of the best teams in college football. They had went toe-to-toe with Boise State after they were, hot and ranked. But UNT, they've got the offensive firepower, and they're so good in the red zone, very proficient, especially last week versus Temple. They converted almost 100% of their red zone downs, and Caleb Hawkins is the real deal. Like you guys said, you get inside of the 15-yard line, you hand the ball off to him, you can almost put the 6 points on the board without even having to watch it. So with that being said, I have to take UNT. I think Tulane will crumble in the big game.
It's funny because, the next game we're talking about actually features a Tulane transfer at quarterback. We'll start with Andrew. How do you think Darian Mintz's Duke is going to do against Virginia in the ACC championship?
Listen, these two teams have already played, and Virginia won 34-17. Virginia's been riding momentum all season. Recently, their momentum has been killed, and that's why I've actually seen some people choose Duke to win this game. But I just can't see a world where Duke wins this. There's no shot Duke wins the ACC.
Right.
I just can't believe it. So I'm going to go with the Cavaliers here.
I mean, I am too. I mean, completely unbiased. My mom graduated from UVA, so I grew up in the dark days of Alabama, Avery Johnson basketball. I tuned in to UVA basketball and watched them win a national title, including the game against the much-hated Auburn in the Final Four. May have been a double dribble. I'm not going to have a take on that right now.
We're just some Kyle Guy enjoyers.
Yeah, we're just Kyle Guy enjoyers. But Darian Mintz, we got the opportunity to see him as he played here in Syracuse.
Yeah, we got the opportunity to see him in full force. That game was a beatdown.
He's a special talent, that's for sure. But I think the one thing is Chandler Morris for UVA is very talented. Also, he in their one loss in the ACC play, not counting the NC State game because that was technically non-conference, even though it was 2 ACC opponents. In the one loss versus Wake Forest, he got hurt, and you could just tell the UVA defense stood tall. Just they had nothing going on offense. And I think Chandler Morris is the defense. They can establish the run game well with Jamari Taylor, who's one of the top backs in the ACC. Right. So for that reason, give me the Cavs. Wahoo-wah.
Brandon, where are you on this?
Piggybacking off Brady, I'll definitely say Chandler Morris will be the difference here in this game. Duke 7-5, obviously, they do not deserve to be there compared to all the other teams, right? Yeah, so give me UVA by double digits, honestly.
That's funny because this would be a great basketball game back in 2019.
It would, yeah. This would be ESPN. You get the best broadcasting team on that. The ACC has been terrible this year. I mean, to have an unranked team outside of the top 25 who's lost 5 games in a conference championship, that's unacceptable. Duke does not deserve to be in the ACC championship. And you've got to think for the ACC, you got to go back to the chalkboard. You got to think, how can we, put more money into our organization so that we don't have championships that look like this? I don't even think Virginia deserves to be in a championship game. Nevertheless, I'm going to take Virginia because the best way to analyze what's going to happen in the next game is to analyze what happened in the previous game. Duke and Virginia have played this year, and it wasn't all that close. 34-17. We saw Jamari Taylor go off 130 rushing yards, and Trell Harris 160 receiving yards. Duke couldn't stop them on the ground or in the air. That's not a recipe for winning football. I think I'm with Brandon on this. I think Virginia beats them by 25 points, and they go maybe to the college football playoffs. We'll see how that all shakes out. But definitely a Virginia sweep here, and deservedly so.
What do you guys think of the way they selected the ACC championship? Obviously, Duke was tied with, I think, 3 or 4 other teams with the same conference record. What do you guys think of the process in choosing Duke over Miami or SMU?
I mean, they are 7-5, but when you factor in conference stuff, I think you got to stick to the rules. Like, I understand they're 7-5, but you can't base it. It's unjust, and it kind of goes against the rules to base it off of the non-conference play, even though they lost to UConn. That's not really the Syracuse Thorns beat UConn. It's just not really.
Different
They lost
times.
to Tulane. They lost to a few. Some may, even though UConn's independent, many people would consider them at the group of 5 level, but it's just, I feel like it's kind of like you can't really prepare for a situation like this, and you can't really make rules on the fly to adjust for this. It's really weird how it all took place.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I have a slightly different perspective on this. I think that there are ways. They've expanded the college football playoffs. They've made rule changes based off of what fans have seen. If you're going to have a 7-5 team who's unranked in over a Miami team who's in college football playoff discussions seriously, I think there has to be some type of a committee or some type of a more mathematical formula for who are actually the best teams in this conference. I don't think that Duke is even a top 2 or top 3 team in the ACC. I think Miami should definitely be playing in the ACC championship, regardless of their in-conference record. They're a better team than Duke. If they went head-to-head, I don't think that Duke would score more than 15 points. And so I think that there should be a committee or some mathematical way to figure out how to get the best teams into these championship games.
It's funny because we had that, and everybody hated BCS so much that they got rid of it. But maybe we should trust the computers to make
crazy.
decisions.
I think that they should bring back BCS for situations like these in the ACC they deserve that type of attention.
I mean, regardless of what you do, fans aren't going to be happy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, like you can't make everyone happy, but I think in this situation, this is a prime example that BCS should come back, even though some older fans aren't going to like it.
Yeah,
you gotta you can't really care about what some people are going to say because you'll never make everyone happy.
There's always going to be somebody.
You could have a 128 team playoff, and then 129 team would be enraged when they miss it. But
exactly.
March Madness for football would definitely be an interesting
that would
concept.
be peak. But
it looks like they're just expanding teams every year.
Yeah, next year it'll be up to 24-team playoff.
Sure.
The lowest quality championship. We're gonna have 5th string quarterbacks in with all the games that they'd have to play.
Yeah, but getting towards some higher power matchups, we've already dealt with some lower caliber teams, and now we're getting into the good stuff, the meat and potatoes of college football. 2 teams that have succeeded a lot throughout this year. BYU 11-1. They're at the number 11 seed. They've had a couple of good wins. Maybe we question their amount of battle testedness. Texas Tech is legit. We know all about them. 11-1, number 4th ranked team in the country. Jacob Rodriguez, the best defensive player in the country by a mile. Brandon, where are we sitting at?
I'm going to say that Texas Tech completely embarrassed BYU the last time they played, 38-13 last time. And I feel like Texas Tech definitely has the strength to go on and probably do the same thing and just destroy BYU.
Yeah, it's a fair take. And Brady, what do you think?
I mean, we've seen this game before. You know, the expression is that it's hard to beat a good team twice. And both of these squads, they're fantastic. You know, Kalani Sitake, you know, he got offered by PSU, and he decided that he wanted to stay in BYU and build what he's been adding. And just Bear Bachmeyer, the big guy, number 47, linebacker number. He's a great player. For that reason, and, you know, it's funny because, as I mentioned earlier about the carousel of quarterbacks, Jake Retzlaff on Tulane that we talked about originally actually transferred from BYU. We got like a little three-way move going on with him, Bachmeyer. For that reason, I think LJ Martin versus Jacob Rodriguez. I think Rodriguez is in for a bad game. Give me the Cougars.
Wow, taking BYU. Andrew, what do you think about that?
So, I like your reasoning for BYU, and because of that, I do think it will be a close game. I think the Red Raiders come out on top, but the reason I think it's a close game is Texas Tech, while they are fighting for a conference title, they have clinched the playoff. They will make the playoff, win or lose. This is BYU's last game if they lose. BYU must win in order to qualify for the playoff. So I think BYU is playing for a little bit more than Texas Tech is. But on the other hand, this game is being played in AT&T Stadium. I believe we are going to see many more Texas Tech fans
100%.
in this stadium than BYU fans. So for that reason, I'm going to go with Texas Tech. I'm also such a big fan of their running backs, Dickey and Williams. Both of them are unbelievable. That 1-2 combo, and then you match that with Rodriguez. I think Texas Tech's taking this.
Yeah.
Me and Noah had a crazy game with Texas Tech and Cameron Dickey
We
went
did,
off
yes.
last night in college football.
But I'm with Andrew on this and with Brandon. I think that actually I differ from you a little bit in that I don't think this game is going to be close at all. BYU, we look at their big wins, and their biggest win of the season, I would argue, is in the Holy War against Utah. Utah, I think, has fallen off the whole entire earth since that game. They've lost basically all of their momentum. Texas Tech has not won a game by less than 20 points this season. Earlier in the year when BYU and Texas Tech met, it wasn't close. It's a little bit hard to justify, how good Texas Tech was in that game. They held BYU under 10 points, and they scored 25 plus. Texas Tech's backfield, as you mentioned, those two great running backs, Cameron Dickey and Jacoby Williams, they're going to have a field day. They both went over 100 rushing yards last time versus that BYU run defense. Texas Tech, they're too solid, and even though the game might mean a little bit less to them, I think they overcome their heart with their talent. Jacob Rodriguez, he's going to make a big play or two. If you prove yourself so many times in the season, it's hard for me to think that he'll just suddenly have a bad game and stop playing as he played. And a freshman quarterback in the championship game against a high caliber defense, watch out. I think we're in for a blowout. I think Texas Tech proves to everybody that they have been underrated this whole entire year, and they can compete with the likes of Indiana and even, dare I say, Ohio State.
If Texas Tech does what you two assume they're going to do, then you guys think they jump to the 2 seed? Because I think they do, because either Ohio State or Indiana has to lose. And hypothetically, if Bama beats Georgia, then Texas Tech's the 2 seed.
It definitely could happen, and I'm going to say more about my Georgia-Alabama take in a little bit. I think Texas Tech deserves to be a top 2 seed. I have questions personally about Indiana's credibility. I think Mendoza is great. I think that he's revitalized the whole program. Obviously, Kurt Cignetti, he's been phenomenal. But I question how tough they really are. And when they go against Ohio State with Caleb Downs, Arvell Reese on defense, I mean, this is an Indiana team that had to go toe-to-toe with Penn State. And this isn't 2024 Penn State. This is 2025 Penn State. This team is not ready for a big moment. Ohio State, well, I don't want to leak too much of what I'm going to say later on, but they've got a legit defense, and we know what Jeremiah Smith and Julian Sayin can do. But back onto the Big 12 championship, Texas Tech wins this game. I think that they vault up either 1 or 2 spots, and they're going to be scary. I wasn't thinking about them for the college football playoffs a little bit. Everybody knows I like Oregon, but Texas Tech is a team to watch out for.
Absolutely.
More teams to watch out for, and Brady's, getting all giddy and happy over this. SEC championship game. We've got some blue bloods going at it, some very successful programs in recent years. Georgia 11-1, Alabama 10-2, both in the top 10. Brady, will save you for last.
It's a good
Andrew, let's start with you.
So Brady's not going to like my answer. I am going to go with Georgia to win here. Obviously, we know Bama has been Georgia's kryptonite the past couple of seasons. Despite Georgia's success in the 2020s decade, Bama has seemed to be the only team that really always has their number. I think this year is different, though. The Ty Simpson-Gunnar Stockton debate is tough. I think they'll both play well. But I think the difference is Georgia's defense is better than Alabama's defense. I think Georgia's defense, when they are locked in, they're the second best defense in the country behind Ohio State. I think Georgia is the second best team in the nation right now. I think they're better than Tech. I think they're way better than Indiana. So I got Georgia winning this game here, and Georgia is my 2 seed in the playoff.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Brandon, where are we at?
I'm going to go the same with Andrew. I think Georgia actually might squeak out with the win on Alabama. Alabama definitely has a few injuries going for them. So I feel like, honestly, I think this might be a 1-touchdown game.
Yeah.
I agree with you. It is going to be a very close game.
It's
going to be a
come
great
down to
game.
the wire. And Bama has experience in those close games. We saw last week almost choke the game against Auburn. I mean, that ended up being closer than a lot of people would think. Bama definitely not in the place that they were in the midseason. They took the L against Oklahoma and John Mateer. They had a close game with Auburn, who, quite frankly, is not relevant at all this year. But I still like Alabama in this game. I think that Gunnar Stockton will get outplayed by Ty Simpson. I think Ty Simpson deserves to be mentioned in conversations for the Heisman. I don't think he's deserving of the award, but he deserves to get mentioned with the best players in the country. Georgia, they have experience. They've played big games. They've won big games. But I don't know if I trust Gunnar Stockton enough to lead this team to an SEC championship. And I think I've seen enough from DeBoer after that loss to Florida State to be able to, rely on that history. Bama has won the last 10 of 11 matchups versus Georgia. And where else does history matter the most other than in the championship game? When everything else gets thrown out of the window, teams are essentially 0-0 in the championship game. Who wants it more? I think Alabama is hungrier, and they're going to run away with it.
It's a tough matchup. It's always fun when you get one of these Georgia-Alabama games. A lot of people call it a rivalry. I don't know if we're quite there yet, just because we play them in Atlanta a lot. But, Alabama coming off of a close win, I will defend them here. All my life, whenever Alabama has had a game in Jordan-Hare, it's needed a miracle if Alabama was able to win. Despite that 1 year where Darius Stewart had that touchdown back in 2015, Derrick Henry put the game on ice with a late touchdown. But this game, Alabama did not need a miracle. They were up 17-0. Isaiah Horton had a big day.
Great game.
I mean, Bray Hubbard, another pick. Talk about one of the more underrated players in the country. I mean, he's been sensational. But, they obviously have that streak against Georgia, 10 of the last 11, which I will have to say, not like making excuses or anything, but that one loss, Alabama star wide receivers Jamison Williams and John Mechie were both injured. But, injuries happen. It's football, as we can see with what happened to them this year. You got to prepare for injuries. But overall, that streak, Georgia's talented. It's hard to beat a good team twice. And that streak is going to have to end one day. But it means the Alabama Crimson Tide. I think they're already in regardless of what happens on Saturday, especially if Tech can come out and beat BYU. But I just think Alabama, for some reason, when I actually think about this with my brain, for some reason I had a bad feeling about it. But I just think Ty Simpson's such a better quarterback. And I think the defense, the DBs on Georgia haven't looked great this year. So for that reason, I'm taking the Tide.
Yeah, and you look at that Georgia record, they're 11-1. They've gone toe-to-toe with various contenders. But what was that one loss that they had? It was to the Tide earlier in the season. And like I said before with the game with Virginia and Duke, the best way to judge success in the future is by looking at what already happened in the season. Georgia wasn't able to hold up in week 4. Is this the same Alabama team from week 4?
No.
I'm not sure,
Absolutely.
but I still think that they have the momentum going into it because they won, regardless of the seeding. You look at the history, you look at who has dominated in the last 11 matchups and who wants it more. Also, who won the game earlier in the year. For me, all signs point out.
We'll see. Is there going to be another timeout? I was caught. They're clapping.
Listen, you better hope Ty Simpson has a good game because Alabama's running game is the worst it's been in years. So if Ty Simpson struggles to get it going in Atlanta, Georgia could run away with this one early because
it's true.
Miller and the rest of the backfield has not had a very good season for the Crimson Tide.
I will say it looked better against, the likes of Eastern Illinois, and it looked better against Auburn. Obviously, they have Keldrick Falk on the D-line, who's high projected draft pick.
Right.
So it looked better, but with Jem Miller's injury, he's listed as questionable. I'm looking at Ryan Grubb to be creative here and see, we put Jeremy Bernard in the backfield a few times. I think that it might be, I would like to see Jeremy back there a little bit because they have with Ryan Williams, Isaiah Horton, Lazier Brooks, and then maybe Josh Cuevas if he's healthy to play. But if not, his backup, Caleb Edwards, had some clutch moments. I just think this wide receiver depth, it's one of the – I think they have arguably the best wide receiver room in the country.
Yeah, and we haven't seen probably as much from Ryan Williams as we thought we were going to see this year. Obviously, I know that's disappointing to you, but he's had some good games against Georgia. I mean, I think everybody remembers that play from last year, the one that vaulted him into relevance and, kind of set the college football world on fire.
Well, this year he dropped a wide open touchdown pass on the opening drive. So we'll see how he bounces back.
What better scenario than the SEC championship for him to remind everybody, hey, I'm here. I am about that life. I'm only 19 years old or how 18 years old, but I'm ready for the limelight. I'm just as good as Jeremiah Smith, and don't forget about me. I'm ready to go. But that game is going to be a great game. Maybe a game that, in my opinion, won't be as good, even though it's hyped up to be, is this Big Ten championship between Indiana and Ohio State. Really rare that you get to see a 1 versus 2 seed in a conference championship, but we get it here, and it comes from the Big Ten. Am I reading that right? I don't think many people would expect this at the beginning of the season. Usually it would be an SEC matchup if it was 1 versus 2. But Ohio State and Indiana, they maybe haven't played the best of competition, but they've both went undefeated. Somebody's going down today. Brandon, who's it going to be?
I'm just going to put that out there. I think Indiana's fairy tale run is just going to be over. They are going to get completely exposed with Ohio State having one of the best defenses in the game, nationally. I think Indiana gets cooked here, honestly.
Absolutely. How many points do you think Ohio State beats Indiana by?
I'm thinking by at least 20 or more.
Wow.
It's definitely a lot.
Wow, Brandon's going big. Brady, what do you think?
This game's interesting. Both teams haven't played the best competition. We got probably the two Heisman favorites at the moment, Julian Sand and Fernando Mendoza. Whether or not you want to agree with that, it's a quarterback.
Julian Sand does not deserve to be.
He does not. And then, many people thought this game should have been game day. I actually don't think it should have been game day, but I don't think the SEC championship game should have been game day either. I think, both of these teams, they're going to make the playoffs. They're a lock. It's high stakes, 1 versus 2, but I think you got to go to one of these other games where teams are battling to make the playoffs.
Well, which game ended up getting it?
Alabama, Georgia got game day. But
classic SEC bias.
Listen, it's SEC bias for a reason.
Yeah.
Indiana loses the SEC championship if they're playing either one of those teams.
It's true.
I mean, just overall, though, I like Fernando Mendoza a lot. I like him more than Julian Sand, I'll actually say. I mean, the wide receiver room for Indiana is quite underrated. You got Elijah Surratt. He's very good. I don't know how he compares to Smith and Carnell Tate and how he can do against this defense. But, Indiana has somewhat been tested against Oregon. I'm actually going to go off of a limb here. Give me the who's yours? Give me IU to win. Upset.
Wow. Okay, Brady. Brandon's shaking his head. He thinks that they're going to win by 20. You think that Indiana takes the W? What do you think, Andy?
I'm sitting next to Stephen A. Taylor, bro. No way he genuinely
Stephen A.
thinks that, bro.
He's looking to make headlines, man.
Yeah.
He's going to be next week's Domehead. He's going to be wearing this helmet if we can get this episode up.
Fernando Mendoza, I got your back. If you're watching this,
we'll have you on the
we'll
pod.
have you on the pod.
Fernando Mendoza, if you're watching this, I am a big fan of you, but I think that Ohio State destroys you and your entire offense. I'm going to go with Ohio State here, and it's simply because of their defense. I don't think their offense puts up too many points against Indiana. I think Ohio State settles for 24, maybe 27 points, but I think Indiana puts up a maximum of 10. My guess is they put up 7 points. I think Ohio State wins 24-7. And I think Ohio State's defense is, bar none, the best defense in the country. It has been the past 2 years. Everyone that is out in that field is going to make it to the NFL. And I think that Julian saying disrespect is kind of crazy. I know you don't like it, but, guys, look at the stats. He's been playing phenomenal. He has been playing very good. I know he hasn't been playing many good opponents. Neither is Indiana.
Yeah.
And you touched on it that you wouldn't expect the Big Ten to have the 1 and 2 seed. I actually think you would because the SEC – they're a really good conference. They lose to each other because of how good they are. The Big Ten's got 4 good teams, and their bottom 8 teams would struggle in the ACC. Whereas the SEC, 80% of their conference would win the ACC. So I think the Big Ten teams, while I think both of them are very good, they'll both make runs in the playoff. I think Indiana is going to get blown away by Ohio State here. Ohio State is the best team in the country until they lose, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm still willing to put my word in for Texas Tech over Ohio State as the best team in the country. I mean, to see where Texas is now, and we go back to that week 1 game, only scoring 14 points against that defense, I'm not ready to call Ohio State the best team in the country. If they can beat Indiana by 20 points, like what Brandon is thinking that they're going to do, then maybe I'll throw their name in there for the best team. I'm still not ready to call it, but I do think that they get the win over Indiana. I think this game is going to be close. I can discredit Indiana as much as I want. Maybe they've not, gotten all of those statement victories like you would expect of a team who's 12-0 and is the number 2 seed in the country. That win over Oregon was suggestive of a team that is composed, they're poised, and so I'm not counting them out in a big game. But Ohio State has too much talent. They have probably 3 or 4 guys that are going to be going in the top 15 picks of the NFL draft. I mean, you've got Arvell Reese on defense, Caleb Downs, and then on offense, Carnell Tate, who's emerged this year as one of the best receivers in the country. Julian's saying the reason I discredit his Heisman case is because there's too much talent on the football field, and he is not the guy that's winning the games for Ohio State. For Indiana, Mendoza is the guy who has completely turned around not only their season but their program, and to have that much of an impact in a year where there's really nobody that stands out as kind of that guy. Like last year, I thought it was Ashton Junty who was the best player, and I still think that he got robbed. But I think that Ohio State gets the win versus Indiana in a game that's closer than maybe Brandon is going to say that it is. But I do think that Tate and Jeremiah Smith, they're going to wreak havoc on this Indiana secondary all day long. And I know Ohio State is going to have a great game plan, as they always do, for a big game.
I agree with everything you just said. I agree that Tate and Smith is probably one of the best wide receiver duos in the country, and that is what makes saying good. And that's also why I think Ohio State is the best team in the country. They have the best defense in the country, and then they got 2. Jeremiah Smith's going to be a top 3 pick in the draft. Tate's going to be up there as well. But you got to think of, in terms of the Heisman conversation, I think the committee is going to go with Sane because I think Ohio State wins this game pretty handily. Yeah. They're 13-0. Sane's got the stats. Well, I don't want it to happen. I would much rather see Mendoza win. Right. We all would. We would all love to see Mendoza win because he reminds me a lot of Max Duggan on TCU a couple years ago, where he personally led the team all the way to this point in the season. But I think the committee is going to give it to someone like Sane or maybe Jeremiah Love.
Right. Yeah, and Mendoza has had bad games. I mean, the Penn State game is a prime example, and definitely not his best work there. And against the Ohio State defense, I predict he'll struggle, and there will be, you know how the media gets. You fail in a big game, and all of a sudden they forget about everything that you did in the regular season. Fair enough. I think Jacob Rodriguez deserves a name in the Heisman conversation, especially because he scored those couple touchdowns on offense earlier.
We'll have to look out for him in the backfield. 1st and goal from the 1.
Yeah.
I mean, who do y'all think would win in an Oklahoma drill? Jacob Rodriguez or Caden Proctor. I'd love to see them meet on the
Oh,
goal
come
line.
on, Brady. You can't do that. You know that Caden Proctor would run Jacob Rodriguez over. He probably has 100 pounds on him, and he's a unit. But one thing that I have to say about Fernando Mendoza, and I know we're talking about college football, but I have a sense of existential dread for the guy because he is 100% going to be drafted to a poverty franchise like the Jets, and he's going to rot for his whole career. I am so sorry for you, Mendoza. Even Ty Simpson could be in there for guys who are going to have their careers ruined by shitty programs. And so this is a message to all of the coaches of terrible NFL teams. Please protect your quarterbacks so that they don't end up wasting their careers away. It makes me so upset when you see a guy so talented out of college, then they go into the NFL and they're stuck with a team like the Cleveland Browns. Johnny Manziel, I will never forget what you did at Texas A&M, but you ran into the worst franchise ever, and I'm sorry that happened to you.
Could have helped if you watched a little film. I'm just saying.
Johnny Manziel was a mix of the Browns sucking and Manziel being Manziel. That was
True, yeah,
that was
I
a
think it was
mix.
a bad mix overall. But let's launch into this surprise section for the week. We talked a lot about defenses today. Obviously, we saw Texas Tech being mentioned, Ohio State with all that talent. I want to know who you guys think will have the best defensive game, and that means which offense is getting held to the least amount of points, which defense holds that team to the least amount of points on the biggest stage when the lights are the brightest. And Andrew, I'll start with you.
So I'm between two here, and it's two teams that you wouldn't really expect. Well, one of them you would. One of them is Duke. I think Duke is overrated. I could see Virginia holding them to a limited amount of points, but I'm still going to go with Indiana to have the least amount of points. And it's not a lack of skill on the Hoosier side. It's simply, I'll say it again, just the skill of Ohio State's defense. They have not allowed more than 16 points this season. That is outrageous. In the Big Ten, that is outrageous. I'm going to go with Ohio State's defense to just continue to limit teams to sub 16 points.
They have been so dominant, and I hope as a Pats fan that Caleb Downs somehow falls past, the top 20 picks because that's where we're at this year.
Gonzo and Downs, are you kidding me?
That would be incredible, and, championship number 7 would be just hang it up there already if we get him. But, Brady, who do you think?
I'm going to go with the BYU defense holding Texas Tech's offense just because I think both of these teams are very good defensively.
Wow.
And, I picked BYU earlier. I think I got to stick with it. I think BYU's defense, I think it's going to be a battle of two great defenses, so I'm going to take the Cougars.
That is quite the take. I mean, for a team, BYU has not had a proficient defense, and I don't think that they are. Well, it's your take. I'm not going to comment on it.
I didn't even think we were looking at this game. I thought this game was just kind of crossed off.
I mean, Texas Tech has been so good, but Brandon, what do you think about this? And try not to say anything that they said already, because we like to. Yeah.
All right. So let me see. Honestly, I think even though I'm gonna go with I think UNT with the better defense here.
I like that.
Even though they're not really known for their defense and more known for their passing game, I definitely feel like they could definitely try to hold Tulane here.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say under 10 because that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But I hope it could be maybe under 15. That feels reasonable.
Right.
As well as probably smoking Tulane as well with the passing game.
Right.
What do you guys think of Jake Retzlaff, though, overall? Like, how would you rate his season on Tulane, given everything that happened this past summer with BYU, all that drama?
Yeah, I think that, gotta send some love to him because he is a Jewish brother. But, for what Tulane has done this year, maybe some people were expecting it, but to be in the conversation for college football playoffs as a group of 5 team is impressive. And to lead that team, I think I've got to at least give him an A-. While he hasn't been, superstar caliber, he's managed the games like at not a pro level, but he's managed them as well as anybody could. And he has them in position. If they win this game against North Texas, granted, I don't think that they're going to, they're going to be in the college football playoffs. That would be a huge success.
Yeah, he's still a special talent. It's unfortunate all that happened at BYU with, the scandal and everything. But I still think, all his talent, he's obviously going from a Power 4 program to a Group of 5, very talented Group of 5 program still. He's obviously going to see a drop-off in the talent at wide receiver and stuff like that with the likes of Chase Roberts and then We also got some family members of BYU legends. We got Puka Nakua's little brother, and then we got Tiger Bachmeyer, which I don't know what it is with these Bachmeyer kids being named after animals, but I mean,
Tiger, love it.
Yeah, he still has some great wide receivers, but it was just a great bounce back from him and how he handled this adversity. I don't think he's going to get drafted high or anything, but it'd be interesting to see maybe like a 6th or 7th rounder in the NFL draft.
Brandon, I'm going to go back to your take because I think it's an interesting one. Obviously, I think many people are expecting two high-powered offenses to produce high-scoring numbers, but this is what I like to call the headbutt effect, especially with Group of 5 teams who have played little competition all year. It's like two rams going at each other for a headbutt. They giddy up. They're going so much momentum all season, and then they run into each other, and they stop. And they stay there for a second, and they're just kind of shell-shocked. And sometimes that's what we see out of these teams. They're so high-powered. They have so much momentum, but both teams have it. And so maybe we could see a game that ends up being, 21-10 or something, where it's not exactly as high-powered as you would think, and they kind of slow down after having such great seasons. I'm going to go more of a big name route here. We saw, obviously, Ohio State, that great defense, and Brady, I know you mentioned BYU, which I'm still a little shocked about. I'm going to go to the ACC. Obviously, not too much going for the ACC this year, but I just don't think Duke is a championship caliber team.
No.
I think that they're going to get exposed on the biggest stage, and I think Virginia's defense, well, they haven't been elite. They've had some great moments. That Florida State game was awesome, and that field rush, probably the best field rush I've seen in my whole entire life. But I think Virginia's defense is going to do just enough against Duke, and in a slate that has so much offensive talent, I feel like we're going to get multiple 30-30 scoring games where you just look at it and you think, who's coaching these defenses? But for this ACC championship game, Duke is not talented enough to be on the national stage for an ACC championship. Virginia's going to expose them. Give me Virginia 34-7.
It's going to be interesting to see how it all breaks down.
Yeah.
I'm going to be tuned in to which game are y'all going to be watching between, obviously, this game 1 versus 2, but this one has Duke, Virginia versus Indiana, Ohio State.
We've got a game to get to the second we stop filming this. It's Friday night. Games have started.
UNC versus Tulane. That's going to be great.
I love me some Group of 5.
Brandon thinks that it's going to be the game of the week, I feel like. Which game are you tuning into, Brandon?
Game tuning into? I'm gonna say SEC, honestly.
Yeah.
I kind of want to see Georgia and Alabama go.
Well, you'll more than likely be in my room, and I hope you know that game is 100% going to be on the TV.
For our viewers who don't know Brandon, he's actually Brady's roommate, so that game is going to be on at full blast. Sean McDonough's voice might be echoing through the dorm room, depending on who they have on that game.
I think it should be Fowler. It's the SEC championship game.
Sean McDonough, you're going to be at Syracuse in a couple days. We would love to have you on the pod.
We want you on the pod. Come out in case you're watching this.
What a shot from Curry.
But I personally really, really like this Friday night game. I think that it's going to be all the time. We see it with the MACtion. We see it with sometimes, last year the Mountain West and the Sun Belt Conferences had some great games. Mm-hmm. But this game, so much, because these teams aren't exactly polished, you could see so many interesting things happening. Oh, yeah. And when you don't have any affiliation, any stake in it, it's just fun to watch them go at it.
It's Friday night. It's New Orleans. Winner goes to the playoff. Where in the world would you rather be than on Tulane's campus right now watching that game?
I should have gotten game day, honestly, if this game was on Saturday.
Oh, talk about it. The Mean Green versus the Green Wave.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the Mean Green. I'm a big fan of North Texas because we have not seen North Texas to this level I don't even know how long. Tulane has been ranked in recent years. Tulane were they single digits in 2022 or 23? Tulane was pretty close to it, right?
They beat USC.
Yeah, that season. Tulane was pretty close to being a top 10 team. North Texas, I don't think has been ranked in our lifetime.
Oh,
or maybe mid 2000s, something like that. But North Texas, I'm excited for their journey.
They're a basketball school.
They are, yeah. They do make March Madness from time to time, but I agree with Brandon. I don't think it gets better than the SEC. I really don't. SEC bias for a reason. I think it is the best conference in football.
As a Birmingham resident, UAB and UNT would play each other all the time, and the winner would go to March Madness. Can't really get behind UNT that much.
I never picked UAB in my brackets. I would always skip over them.
Do you regret it?
No.
Yeah, no. I learned what UAB meant, I think, 2 years ago. I used to remember them as the Dragon team.
Right, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we hope you all have a great time watching the championship games this weekend. We'll all be watching them. Get some popcorn, get a blanket. This week is going to be epic. Signing off for Brady Taylor, Andrew Youngworth, and Brandon Brito. I'm Noah Smith.
I'm Brady Taylor.
And that was Off the Dome. See you next week.